Ever since Stranger Things ended, people have become obsessed with using IMDb charts to locate which episodes were the weak link and to determine the quality decline or to prove that it contains cinema. Of course, anime fans had to analyze their favorite shows, and this would include the Dragon Ball community. All I'm gonna say is that IMDb and Dragon Ball fans go together like peanut butter and Vaseline. Who thought this would be a good combination for a sandwich? Like, why does Super Dragon Ball Heroes have a better average than the others? Well, I can probably give an explanation to that, but let's go through each series individually. OG Dragon Ball has a decent 7.6 average. Let's be glad these units are on the right side. The lowest rated episode is episode 149 with a... This was after the World Tournament arc where Goku beats Piccolo and the beginning of his wedding arc. There are no user reviews for this episode, but I can assume it's due to two reasons. Goku is marrying Chi-Chi, and this got the Vados and Caulifla shippers all mad. I'm just joking, they aren't as bad as the Stranger Things Byler fans. But people do hate Chi-Chi though, but the most likely reason is that this came straight from Piccolo's defeat, and this is one of the higher rated episodes of the series. So imagine this big final battle, which is where the manga ends the OG Dragon Ball story, by the way, but it then continues off to a mini filler arc. I think at that point fans just want the next series. Of course, I'm aware that no one had access to IMDb in 1989, but at that point the Saiyans have already arrived on Earth in the manga. So imagine the struggle of being a Japanese anime only watcher back then. I mean, it is still nothing compared to us waiting for the Moro arc to happen. Meanwhile, the highest rated episode was episode 122 with a whopping 8.5 average score, and this is where Goku beats King Piccolo. And this goes to show how much fans love their climatic battles, but we'll see if that continues with Dragon Ball Z. DBZ has an average episode score of 7.5, which is 0.1 less than the previous series, but it does contain just less than 300 episodes, so it is surprising that the ratings difference is hardly anything. The series does have a fair share of 8 out of 10s, along with some mid-6s. Nevertheless, the lowest rated episode is episode 202, when Gohan was blackmailed into going to a date, with a 6.5 score. I remember this episode pretty well, and I didn't think it was too bad, but I'm guessing the episode is rated this low because it's a filler episode within this filler arc of Gohan hiding his great Saiyaman identity from Videl. Like, how does Gohan's teddy bear underwear come into play for when Boo wreaks havoc? Meanwhile, on the greener side of the IMDb charts, if you thought that Goku turning Super Saiyan for the first time would be the highest rated episode, well, you'll get brownie points for second place because the final explosion from Majin Vegeta is actually the highest with a 9 out of 10. Not only does it contain a hype moment and literal aura, but it was an emotional sacrifice from a character that fans adored. And we can see how a moving factor can affect the fans' perception of the show. Just by looking at the top 4 rated episodes from this series, it can be top 5 for anyone that liked the racist space lizard. But hey, this is a good sign that maybe Dragon Ball fans really do enjoy more than just big climatic fights, right? GT comes in with the lowest average rating yet of 6.9, which isn't the worst for any average TV series. However, it did bring the franchise down to the 5 out of 10 regions, but which one was the worst of the worst? As some of you may have predicted, it was when they went galaxy hunting for the Dragon Balls. I was a bit taken aback when it was the episode about the monster pretending to have earthquake powers, so he can torment a village and gain a wife. The episode is pretty much the Oolong episode from OG Dragon Ball, but stretched even further, and I'd imagine people would be bothered by how Goku and gang couldn't just beat this guy up, considering how powerful they are at this point. It's definitely a huge tonal shift from what audiences were used to with Dragon Ball Z. Fans just want to move on to an actual threat. Plus 7 episodes in and we're only this far into the journey, but still, how's this worse than episode 15 when Pan runs away because Goku and Trunks are considering going back to drop her off and get Goten? This is why we didn't get GT Gotenks, guys. Since then, the episode has been in a continuous phase of 6s and 7s out of 10 until the very finale, when the series gave us a genuine goodbye to the franchise. There's no real action here, other than the montage of their previous stories. Overall, this was a very heartfelt ending that tugged on the hearts of fans. For anyone wondering, Goku's Super Saiyan 4 episode, along with Gogeta's return, are in the top 4 with a 7.8 rating. Both were outbeaten by Piccolo's sacrifice. Now I think it's time to move on to the next series. We're sort of returning to DBZ with the Kai version. However, as you can see, the website split it into 2 seasons due to the Buu Saga being added after its cancellation. Nevertheless, the original Kai is on par with OG Dragon Ball, while the final chapters is edging towards GT's rating, but let's see why that is. The lowest ratings that the first portion of Kai had is a 6.8. One of them is the fight between Super Trunks and Cell, and this bothers me so much because this is the episode where the Lone Warrior song comes in, and I absolutely love this moment, but I'm guessing newer fans didn't care for how Trunks immediately gives up in the end. But if that didn't shock you, then you should know that Goku's sacrifice also had that same score. I am genuinely confused why that is. On the other hand, the best rated episode was when Goku turned Super Saiyan for the first time. In fact, it seems that audiences really loved the Frieza arc. But how did they feel about the Buu Saga? As expected, there was a noticeable fall off due to the series basically putting a green P filter over the Buu Saga footage, and they didn't even try to improve the footage quality. Nevertheless, the voice acting is such a significant improvement from the original. With all that being said, the lowest it has ever gotten is with a couple of episodes receiving a 6.4, which was a typical Wednesday for Dragon Ball GT. These episodes would be when Gotenks fights Super Buu in the time chamber, and the finale. The former I can probably understand, but the finale, really? I do have a soft spot for the Oob fight, so it could be just me. Only 2 episodes got a rating of 8 or above. This would be when Vegeta proclaims Goku as number 1, and just like with the original anime, Vegeta's sacrifice was also highly rated, but this time it is the highest rated episode out of all of Kai. I will give props to the voice actors for Vegeta in Japanese and English because they definitely made the series worth watching. But what about the series after this? Dragon Ball Super is pretty much a giant mixed bag, but it still somehow managed to beat the original shows by a tiny 0.1 point. I think it's backed up by how many 9 out of 10 scores there are, and it does have the most 9s throughout the franchise, and of course they contain the most hype and aura surrounding them. But somehow, the worst episode isn't the extremely memed episode 5, nor is it Goku vs Frieza, which is objectively the worst animated episode from the series, and yet it crazily has a 7.3 out of 10 score, beating the Yamcha baseball episode. Episode 5 was at least saved by the Blu-ray release, but come on. Somehow, the worst episode is episode 69, which was the Dr. Slump crossover. I can think of 3 arguments for why this is the case. Number 1, after the Future Trunks arc, the ratings started to decline, because as we've seen before, Dragon Ball fans don't like filler after a climatic finale. Second reason, and I talked about this in my debunked Dragon Ball Super Theories video, was that fans expected there to be a time jump because people thought that Trunks looked like he grew up in the episode preview, but they were disappointed that he's still a kid. The final possible assumption, Dragon Ball Super fans are stupid and need to experience more joy in their lives. These are 2 of Toriyama's biggest characters, and they're finally properly reunited since the Dr. Slump remake in the late 90s. Well, anywho, Dragon Ball Super also has the highest rated episode out of any of the shows with a near perfect 9.7 score, this being the episode where Goku uses Ultra Instinct for the first time. I mean, it's a fantastic episode, but these fans aren't beating the hype moments and aura allegations, and I'll be further proven right with the next show. So, Super Dragon Ball Heroes is really just a promotional marketing tool for an arcade game that was somewhat exclusive to Japan, and yet it has an average episode rating of 8 out of 10. Mind you, the general IMDb rating has a 6.6 score, which is the lowest rating out of all of the shows. Nonetheless, only 2 episodes are just below a 7 out of 10 score. These would be the episodes where Metacooler turns golden, and the episode when Gogeta appears in the end. I would have thought that people would have liked that golden Metacooler episode, but I suppose not. Interestingly, episodes 34 to 50 contain the longest 8 out of 10 streak from the franchise. Episodes 49 and 50 have back-to-back 9s out of 10s, these being the generational family beam struggle and the conclusive rematch between Xeno and CC Goku. Now, if we go back to how these ratings differ from the general IMDb score, my guess is that the standards for the show were so low that they can easily exceed them by dangling crazy transformations to the audience. Does that make the series good? No. But does it make it more fun and bearable to watch? Actually, yeah. As for when the series switched to the 3D animation, yeah, I don't know what these fans were smoking when they were rating the show. Now on to the final series. Just like Super Dragon Ball Heroes, Daima also has an 8 out of 10 score, but this one makes sense because at least the general rating is closer to an 8. From what I can see, the lowest rated episode is episode 13, which was a very odd filler episode that can be argued wasn't needed, given the series' 20 episode length, and the episode before that was when we saw Vegeta turn Super Saiyan 3, which has a 9 out of 10 rating. I don't think people would be fond of seeing Vegeta beat the second Tamagami, but then deal with that giant hamster hurdle that really didn't do much for the series. I was hoping that it would have been implemented very engagingly in the second Daima DLC for Kakarot, but it seems like even Bandai doesn't care about it. I also noticed that all the 8 out of 10 episodes are the ones with a fight sequence, which goes to show how much the animation team really put into the action. The 3 episodes that were rated a 9 were the previously mentioned Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta episode, the mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku debut, and adult Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta episodes. This tells us that fans really like their shows when they have a good animated fight, alongside a new transformation. But with that being said, the finale was 0.3 points shy of a 9 out of 10. Like, yeah, it had Goku fighting in Super Saiyan 4, but in return, there were a few complications. The biggest being that the fusion bugs were literally thrown out of the plot. So those theories of a fusion between Goku and Vegeta, Do and Ku, or even Supreme Kai and Kibito, which would have explained how they were still fused in the beginning of Super, were just gone, and on top of that, adding complications to Dragon Ball's canon. Many people, including myself, went into this series thinking that it was going to be connected to Super, but as we grew closer towards the end, it really made us question things. I wish that there would have been some sort of transparency with that, but for some reason, Toei and the rights holders don't like sharing any clarity. And I'll be honest, I think it's a deceptive marketing tool, just like how Super was never advertised as a retelling of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, but people still watched the first couple of episodes thinking that it was a brand new story. Still though, Daima's finale was rated pretty highly, and probably for the reason why so many people stuck by with this show even after the backlash from the announcement. This was Toriyama's last work, and we couldn't appreciate enough that we even got something like this after he had passed away. And even though we know that Goku's story will still continue after these events, this would be the last story that Toriyama contributed to. So what did we learn today? To get the highest rated Dragon Ball episode, it needs a crazy fight, a crazy transformation, and it needs to be sealed with an emotional moment. And to get the lowest, you just need to add filler after the highest rated episode. But what do you guys think? Are these scores accurate, or should Dragon Ball fans be mass banned from rating anything? What do you guys think the reviews will be like for Dragon Ball Super Beerus and the Galactic Patrol arc? As an update for that Dragon Ball in the 2010s compilation, I basically recorded pretty much all of it, except for the parts where I give shoutouts to the commenters that reminded me of events and gave extra insight on stuff that I've already mentioned. The reason why it's taking so long is basically because of my time management, and honestly, I kinda promised myself that I would put the Dragon Ball in the 2010s videos on hold if there's a project that I'm really interested in. So until then, if you know something that I haven't added to those videos, then your chance is still here.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to see more content like this. And yeah, see ya next time.